and welcome to Music Arranging 101. I'm Mattias and I'm here to give you some sweet music production tips. In this video we're going to talk about arranging a song, expanding a loop into a full song, transition effects between song parts, and instrumentation. Today's track is called Karma 1 and is available on my Bandcamp and soon also on the streaming platforms. If you want to hear the full track, use the timestamps below and navigate to a later section in the video where you can also see how I played that guitar solo. I originally wrote this as a music loop for a slot game called Karma. It was basically a 1-minute music loop which returns back to the beginning seamlessly. The top track here with the audio file Karma Q is the initial game loop. And I love the game loop so much that I rearranged it and dressed it with more arrangement parts and made it to this full song Karma 1. So the initial game loop consists of a loop intro of 4 bars, then we have an 8 bars verse, an 8 bars chorus, and finally 4 bars of post-chorus, which leads back seamlessly to the loop intro. To keep things interesting in a game loop, you need to keep making minor changes. So in this piece I'm making a shift every 4 bars. I may be introducing a new sound, a new instrument, playing the melody slightly different, or changing the chords. And in a game loop you also need to make the end compatible with the beginning, so you can make it loop seamlessly. If we begin looking at the intro of the loop, you can hear that it starts quite abruptly with like all the instrumentations at the same time. And you usually don't want to start your tracks like that, giving away all your cards from the get-go. You usually want to have like a minor instrumentation for the intro and then make a build-up towards the verse. So that is exactly what I did here for this arrangement. So I added this intro section, which sounds like this. So here it's a lot softer. And building, adding instrumentation. So that's like a more proper intro for a song. So what happened there in the intro? We have some synth plugs and a pluck piano. Just playing like the root note. And an additional sus4. And then we add some bass notes for the second part. Again, we add some minor changes here every 4 bars. We also have that acoustic lead intro melody. Just to give a hint of that kind of ambience, which we will later hit when we get into the proper music of the Karma Q loop. And we also have a noise hit in the intro to give a little bit of top-end sizzle. And that's the patch I created with the Serum synth, with just some AC hum noise and a phase filter. Just to tickle the high end of the ears. And then leading from the 4 bars into the second 4 bars of the intro, we have a roller transition effect. I call it roller transition because it sounds a little bit like something is rolling. And I'm going to get rid of some effects here so you can hear the sound isolator. And we're going to stop the looping happening. Now the raw sound of the roller transition is basically just a sampled button. And then I attached the mod wheel to change the pitch. And made the sample loop. You can basically recreate this kind of transition effect in in any kind of sampler. So we can do that kind of sweep. I also have a modifier, a MIDI modifier, which attached the mod wheel to the volume. That's why the sound fades in, as well as increase in pitch when I move the mod wheel on the MIDI controller. And then we add some equalizers to cut out the low end, some compression, and I think we have the space designer for the reverb. And some delay, or actually a huge delay with the Blies delay. So that's like a more fun transition effect than the usual like noise sweeps. And you can basically throw in any kind of sample into your sampler like this and make it loop and try it as a transition effect. This time it was a button sound, but sometimes I use other kinds of sounds. And on the second part of the intro we also have another kind of transition effect, which is just some swiping on the acoustic guitar, with tons of effects again, like the silver reverb, some tremolo to make it pan from the left to the right. So that's also quite interesting transition effect, which you can use in your arrangements. And we also add some kick and snare. These are from the Logic stock library, I think. A shaker loop, also from the stock library of Logic, and some African shakers. And actually on this second part I'm adding a little bit of minor changes here between every 2 bars. And some extra acoustic guitars. If we listen to the Karma Q game loop, we can hear that I introduce different instruments every 4 bars, or every 8 bars. And then we also have a minor like sound effects and transition effects happening every 8 bars or 4 bars. Now, as you can hear, we add a bridge after this part because a song will never be 1 minute 25 seconds. We need to extend this to make this longer. And a good way to do that is to add a bridge here, which is actually like a kind of a variation of the intro, except that we add some choirs and also a pad with some chords that really like changes the flavor of the intro part. and with the choirs. And then we go back to the karma cue loop again, so we have the same kind of loop happening again, except that I add some shakers on some of the sections, and we also have some acoustic guitars as additional guitars on the beginning of the verse. And these are panned left and right, left 36 and right 36. Now after these parts we have a solo section, and that is also the same things as the intro. The only thing that really changes for the solo part is that I add a hi-cut filter for the guitars to make them more muffled, so the lead guitar can be more upfront. So without and with this filter we push them further back in the mix. And then we go back to the bridge. And a good way to end the song is to remove some of your instruments one after another, and that's exactly what's happening here. If you listen closely you can hear that we have the shakers and we have the kick on the first two bars of the bridge here, and then on the outro we remove the kicks and we remove the shaker. And I also removed this little extra guitar after 4 bars. Another thing that changed from the first bridge to this final bridge is that we have the highest choir part muted on the first bridge. So that's also an additional layer that we add to the final bridge. So the first bridge sounds like this. So that's with the low and mid choirs. And then on the final bridge we have that high part too. Right, so that's basically how I created the Karma 1 arrangement. Now if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. Now we can take a listen to the full track in all its glory and also see how I play the guitar solo.